doula healthcare kind of feels this.
Hi, I'm Naomi Alford, and this is my son Liam, and my husband Micah. I also kind of share those sentiments for having a doula. I don't think I had as comprehensive with my OBGYN. I mean, they did all the things they're supposed to, and they checked in. I felt like leading up, things were good. I worked as a teacher, so it was at the very end of the semester, so of course that time was really stressful, and I was just having different feelings, and having Tony as my doula, she'd be checking in like, this isn't normal, like go and ask for help and do this and that, and having her just telling me like, your feelings are valid and things, and that really encouraged me, and getting to my actual birth, that was quite an experience with that. But I was so thankful to have her on my side. I didn't have anything with my birth plan, like we had planned in a completely different hospital. And I was trying to leave when I was there, like, we're not happening here, it's not part of my plan. And she's like, Naomi, we're gonna think realistically here. But it was so good having her, and then I know they do the checklist things, you know, the multiple choice of like, how do you feel, rated on a scale. But as I know as an educator with students as well, like multiple choice is not really going to give you a good idea. And Tony knew me well enough from just beforehand with all my prenatal stuff, and knowing like, you're not okay, even though I wasn't ready to admit I wasn't okay, she was checking in on me and gave me things both for physical and mental health. And it was totally important for our entire family and just moving forward with many decisions we had after he was born.
Speaker?
Yeah.
So my prenatal care sucked, but I didn't realize that until I was rushed to a hospital, found out we lost our son, and almost died, and finally got out of the hospital. So ultimately, the OB that I had gone to for years for regular gynecology appointments, they just failed to do regular stuff, like urine samples, the whole time I was pregnant. Though I was high risk for preeclampsia, and protein urine is a symptom of preeclampsia. So they failed to do that. So this is really why I'm here. Like, this is how we started Jason's journey and all the things. Just so, like, from my experience, I didn't know I needed a doula. I didn't know I needed to advocate for our son because I thought they were going to do their jobs, and they didn't. So we use our platform to actually educate people on that, because a lot of doulas, I've had doulas say to me, you know what, I never thought to ask that, like if they were giving you urine samples. And it kind of opens people, it's the simplest thing, like the simplest thing that could have prevented us from being here. So yeah, my prenatal care kind of sucked, but we had some good care afterwards, so. Postpartum was different because I was in the hospital for 45 days. But I remember the checklist too. I got the same kind of checklist. But one thing that the hospital itself and the nurses that were on my floor encouraged us to do was therapy. And our family did too. So I think the best thing for us was having as much support as we did, because I had like family coming like every day, like every weekend. My uncle would drive like 3.5 hours to come check on me and my cousin. So that was my postpartum recovery, was because we had so much support.
All right. I think Tanika rose a really, really important subject matter, which is actually the next question that I have for you all. What services have you relied on to support your emotional recovery and healing after your birthing or postpartum experience? And the question is, what services have you relied on to support your emotional recovery and healing after your experience? Anybody want to answer that? What type of support? Any type of services?
So when we've had our children, those that are close to me will let you know that even though I may be a loving and caring doula, I have absolutely nobody in the house. No one's coming in, not a person. And so I have really wonderful people who will push me, and they stay close, and they're actually always nearby. And they are still to this day a lot of times who I depend on. I did not find, even after doing this work for so many years, when Baby Friendly came out, I really believed things had changed. And I really hoped that they had. And then I finally had children. And I found out they had. And now I'm here. Bugging everybody who comes through my office. Because they will tell you it doesn't matter what time I answer, I call. They think I don't sleep, but I actually do.
So for us, we are originally from the DC area, my husband and I. So we had my mom move in for a few weeks with my first and for a few weeks with my second. But we didn't have the benefit of having local family to check on us. And we have great friends, so our friends had a food train going and popping in and checking on us. But this time around, a lot of people have asked if going from one baby to two has been extremely hard, and it actually hasn't. One, this time knowing my mental health history, I was equipped with a therapist. So I already had her on hand, but just having a doula, it was a completely different experience. It was a 180. Going from one kid to two was actually a lot easier than going to one kid. So.
I got this mic over here, so if y'all share, that's fine. And if you want to jump in and speak, please do. All right. I thank Alexia for having you come here tonight, so I'm appreciative to her. The next question is, thinking about your birthing and postpartum experience, what type of support do you feel all pregnant families need to succeed? What type of services do you feel like parents would need to succeed? Tony's got a smile on her face, so I'm like, she got some answers over there for us.
Well, one, I think everybody should have a doula. But in that, I think that care has to be comprehensive. There are aspects that need to be addressed. So nutrition, access to food, those imbalances that just come from hunger right after having a baby or not really understanding you're exhausted. You need resources. You need resources for breastfeeding. You need resources. And even if you're not actually going to breastfeed, you still need breastfeeding resources because the body is going to go through the physiological change regardless. As well as just support to have someone there to help you through that process. And I think check-ins from medical community should be more frequent. I don't think a mom or birthing person should leave the hospital and then not be seen again for 6 weeks. I think that is a huge failure. And I also think that we as a community have to be a little bit more considerate of our families and what they're going through. You don't just have a child and then jump up. So you don't know what state they're in. And I think that work oftentimes expects, once the child is born, for everything to kind of return to this sense of normality. It's like, oh, you're not pregnant anymore, so you should be able to do things, and that's not really how this works. So education and the other things.
I think, yeah, okay. I think to kind of continue on that, as I mentioned, I was a high school teacher, and I don't know if y'all are familiar, but teachers don't get any maternity leave. So I know, like, I was very stressed throughout my whole pregnancy just because I'm like, I have to plan all this stuff. I need to make sure my students are provided for, especially right now with the teacher shortage. It's like, who's gonna educate them when I'm not there? So I'm making all these videos and staying up all night, and then in the meantime, like, stressing myself out and causing myself unneeded stress while trying to finish up my pregnancy. And then afterwards, I worked for a virtual school, but part of it you had to go to Durham for twice-a-month meetings. And so when it was time for me to come back, they're like, oh yeah, so you're gonna be in Durham. Like, I'm still healing, like that's 4 hours away from my baby, like can we have consideration, and just how the policies were, they weren't accepting of that. And that's where I had to make the decision of quitting or staying and doing that. Obviously I quit. But that is something that I feel in the United States is a big problem in many different communities or occupations where we're not thinking of mothers and families and nurturing their families. We're thinking, okay, so pop that baby out and now it's time to get back to the workforce where you belong, where you contribute to society. And this being with our children is also contributing to our society, and I think it's valued at all.
Sorry.
Thank you. Just to piggyback off of her with the maternity leave, teachers, don't even get me started the way you guys are treated, but I worked in healthcare and didn't get maternity leave. I worked for a healthcare startup based in California, so in their head, they were like, well, you're home. You can hop back online and do your job. And so I had that support from employers nationwide, no matter what state you're in. Like moms need more support, birthing persons need more support. And I am one of the lucky few who had a husband whose job actually gave him paid maternity leave. So we're grateful in that sense that we didn't have to make that decision. Like it was like, all right, fine, send your laptop back, you're done. For me, but that is not the norm. For families, even nuclear families here in North Carolina, that's not normal. So the fact that my husband, as a man, my partner was given 16 weeks full pay, like that should be the norm for people going through the physiological and the biological changes. Thank you.
Anybody else? Dr. Tam, did you?
I was saying, I totally agree with you, and that's a key point that legislators need to hear as far as advocacy and what the human body goes through major changes during this time. So it's not just a matter of, okay, well, you know, I'm growing the baby and I had the baby, now everything is back to how it was 10 months previously. That's not how it is, but unfortunately in America, oftentimes that's how it's viewed. It's like, okay, you had your baby, now let's get back to normal. But it needs to be normalized that this is natural, this is a part of our society. You are contributing to society. You're having a child that is now a part of society. So I was just saying, I totally agree with you, but I wanted to follow up on a point that you made as far as with women taking care not only of themselves mentally, but also physically. Oftentimes what I see with patients is women are focused during the time of, oh, they're trying to conceive and when they are carrying their child, but after there's not so much focus on proper nutrition, proper hydration, mental health and stability, focus on support. Those things do not get as much of attention as it is needed, and if not more so, because you're now tasked with not only caring for yourself, but another human being that you need to keep healthy, you need to keep keep yourself healthy and vital and vibrant in order to have two healthy lives and, you know, the family unit. So I just wanted to say those things do go hand in hand. I'm a big proponent in holistic care. You can't have isolated care, and unfortunately that seems to be the norm oftentimes in Western medicine. However, there are holistic practitioners like myself who believe that it is a circle. It all can work together, and I think once more of us start to take those type of approaches, we'll see healthier communities. But it starts with roundtable discussions like this.
So I kind of want to piggyback on what you said, because Shalonda mentioned it when she introduced herself. You were talking about like we start to get healthy whenever we get pregnant. And we're trying to focus on even before that, because I think now as a country, as a society, we think of pregnancy in a reaction, like we react to it. So it's like, oh, now I need to start taking my prenatals, and now I need to do this, and now I need to do that. And then like you said, like when we get the postpartums, you know, we go all that way. So I think, you know, when we talk about support, we need to support adolescents to understand their bodies at this point, to start having that conversation. You know, we're not talking super young, we're talking about college students. Like, we're probably having sex anyway, right? But to have that conversation and getting your mom, because I didn't think I was going to be 40 and pregnant. You know, when you're a kid, like, I'm going to be married by the time I'm 26. And it's happening later for a lot of people. And our bodies aren't prepared, and that's why we're high risk for, you know, preeclampsia and all these things. We have fibroid tumors, we have PCOS and all these things. So the support needs to be before we even get pregnant. We need to start having a conversation prior to that, because now it's a reaction. Now I'm pregnant. Now I need to get a doula. Now I need to do this, and just start in the beginning. Like we're too late. We're too late.
I'm just gonna go back on the grid. Yes. We're on the money now. Yes, I totally agree with you. It can't be a reaction. It's about preventative care and also just holistic care. So you made an example of as far as certain vitamins and minerals and we're gonna be healthy now, I'm about to have a baby. But I'm sure all of you all are familiar with folic acid, you know, and the lack of thereof leading to the neural tube defects and things of that nature. So if you don't have a proper diet, and the college student or who, you know, early 20s, they're in the day-to-day work and they're like, okay, I'm not even thinking about getting pregnant, right? But then, it's 2 months, 8 weeks in, right? Now the development of the child has that's right. So we've missed a pivotal time period that can be of severe consequences if you don't have proper nutrition for moms. So it doesn't just start with those who are planning pregnancies. It starts by having a holistic approach to health of yourself and wanting to live a healthy lifestyle, not only physically, but emotionally and mentally. It all goes together, which we can then pass on to the next generation. So that's what I wanted to say.
I just wanted to say, I guess, from like a father-husband perspective, especially beforehand and after, just the importance of, I guess, having a doula was one of the best things, especially not just for her, but for me too, because the entire time from the minute it got, we were ready, we wanted to, but just the stress that came over me, and questions and things I had no answers to. And having her sit there in bed next to me and say, well, what about this, what about this, what about this? And me saying, call Tony. You know, because I didn't know either. But then, I mean, being able to have all those, you know, answers readily available for her and see her go, okay, you know, and get that was so much more healthy for her and our lives going through it, and especially after, because then I was really freaking out and I had no idea what was going on. So just, you know, I just wanted to say like how amazing it was having Tony. I've actually told every single person I've met since been pregnant. I've literally told random people, "You're a doula," because you don't know, like you got to. Like it's not a choice because she advocated for us, and she there's a lot of stuff with our story and where they were just gonna have her have the baby. She hadn't ate since the morning up, and Tony's on the phone going, "No, stop, go home, get your bags, get some food in her, like take a breath. I'm on my way." You know, and we didn't have that choice based off the nurses. They just walked in and told us what was going to happen, and so you know that helped. And we were both stressing out. So having that somebody to advocate for you in a time where really there's so much knowledge out there and there's so much information and misinformation, and you're trying to weed through it while you have your own lives going on. And so having somebody that just comes alongside of you and walks with you in that, especially afterwards, is just phenomenal.
Thank you. Go ahead. Anybody else?
I will say this, not every doula necessarily practices the same as I do. However, I am very whole person-centered care from top to bottom. We start with family planning and our education services, and we go through everything. One of the things that I want to say about Naomi and Micah is that I watched Naomi closely, and this is one of the benefits of having a doula. When Naomi had sudden onset preeclampsia, and it was somewhat being ignored because a couple days earlier she had gone in and nothing was wrong. But I knew something was wrong. And even though I am not a medical professional, I knew her, and I knew her pregnancy, and I knew something was wrong. And so they just said, well, you think there's something wrong, go to the emergency room, which is what they're kind of referring to. So we have to realize that this is a top to bottom thing. I start with education first. All of them will tell you that we have the nutrition conversation, and if general advice is not good enough, they will get referred to whatever specialist they need to go to. And that every part of it, from prenatal to labor delivery to postpartum, is followed. Doing check-ins for mental health, knowing what to do. It all comes together because I'm the observer and an educator. I'm to share my knowledge and to help them get the help they need. And since healthcare is disjointed and it's segmented, a lot of times things are overlooked. Both of the young ladies down there had some very serious overlooked things happen. And because I train in physiology and body work, I was able to help them facilitate their labor deliveries the way they wanted to. I also was able to kind of help them understand what was going on with them so that they can make the decisions they needed to, so they can make those informed consent decisions about what they wanted to do and why or why not to do something, because as Naomi said, she was ready to leave. She was not hearing anything anyone said, and I knew as I was trying not to get a ticket going up the highway that if I didn't get there soon, I was going to find her in the parking lot. So there is a big part of what we do as the observer, right? We do share knowledge, but it is important to have that advocate. And even if you don't have a doula, a support person in general usually can help you identify, say, no, something's not okay. So always be willing to speak up, right? And you're never wrong. I tell all my moms, you're not wrong. If you feel something in your body, you're not wrong. And the minimum thing we can do is have it checked.
Right. I don't need the mic for this, but I want to say, I tell my patients, you are your own best advocate. You are your own best advocate. We're here to help facilitate healthcare and provide our medical knowledge, but you know what's going on in your body from day to day, what's normal for you, what's abnormal. And as a partnership, you all should be able to get to solutions. But don't be afraid to speak up to your healthcare provider. We can only help, well, I would say we can provide more help and assistance with the more information that we have, which means you all saying and telling us, okay, well, this doesn't feel right. You don't have to know the words or have particular specific language. It's about you knowing your body and being willing to be your own advocate. So if you take nothing else, speak up for yourself and have that partnership with your provider and feel comfortable enough to do that.
I think you all hit the word that went right on the button, the advocacy word, right? One thing that I'm learning is advocacy, it almost you have to teach it to people. You have to teach advocacy. And that's what we're doing in Winston-Salem now. We'll be online soon, but we're working with the Black Coalition for Safe Motherhood. And we're basically teaching how you need to learn how to advocate, not just for you, but also for your child, for your family. You know, our generations are getting older, you know, parents are getting older, and that's one of the things that I'm learning now. It's like, wait a second, this is, you say a whole person. Well, whether it's a baby or an older person, that word advocacy is key. So we'll be starting new classes soon for advocacy and teaching people how to advocate for themselves, their baby, their parents, just so that, you know, intergenerationally, we're there for each other. And it's really kind of like people talk about, you know, holistic. Well, that's what churches did. You know, they might not have called it holistic care or anything like that, but our churches did that. And I think as, you know, things have changed through the years, we sometimes forget where, you know, some of us came from. And those are some of the bases and cornerstones in our communities. So I just wanted to say, doulas, we are about dignity, you know, we are about respect, we are about compassion. And that's the type of partner I want when I'm with the family, when I'm with a doctor, when I'm with anybody. I want that compassion and that partnership.
I mean, I was going to yell it, but I'll take it right. But I also just want to piggyback off of what you said, as far as like there should be a partnership between the patient and the healthcare provider. And I feel like those of us without the medical degrees, I think in general, we tend to think we're stuck with the doctor we get on the first try. And I feel like if more people would shop around and interview their doctor, your doctor is working for you, your health providers are working for you. So the same way you walk into Toyota in North Carolina, like I want that Camry, but they not give you the right price, you go to South Carolina for the same exact car. I feel like we need to do that when it comes to our health, because it's life or death.
We'll do one more real quick, and tell me if you have something to tell us and talk to us about.
On the table, there's actually a book about my family. I am the granddaughter of a grand midwife on both sides of my family. And it talks a lot about how they supported. And I remember when I was reading the book, it was like she had a moment where she had to wait for I think it was my grandmother, one of them, but she was there for all of them. So, it is a community that pulls it together, and whatever your community is, leverage it, right? Don't go this alone. And I had to kind of learn that even as a doula the hard way, because I tried to advocate for myself, and I knew what needed to happen in my own birth. But at that point, they weren't ready to follow physiological birth practices and actually reposition me. And I ended up in a lot of pain with a lot of trauma for myself, right? I had to watch my husband look at me as I'm hemorrhaging on this table, afraid that I'm about to not be here anymore, and watch my daughter go to an incubator. So, if you know, and it helps because I'm a doula, so now when I go in, there's just no hope for the future, because I'm gonna fight. I go, okay, and we talk about it. So I want everyone to know, like, it really is a community, but as I tell my families, I fade into the background. I'm not what's important in this. I'm a part of it, but this is your moment. And if we could realize that that family is that moment,